Well, good evening and welcome back to another live episode of City Hall Live. We've been off for a couple months in the changeover of the programs, but we're now back on the air at a new time. It'll be Wednesdays 7 to 8 for the next several weeks, and I look forward to talking to you about issues in the City of New London, taking your calls, and also debating some of the political issues that are up in the municipal elections coming up on November 5th. I'm sure the next few shows should be some entertaining ones, and I hope that you'll call in with the questions that you have about any issue in the City of New London. I know tonight is a busy night in the city. The candidates that are running for municipal election are at a forum this evening, so I know my first caller can't possibly be Dennis from New London this time because he's at the debate. But I certainly wish all the candidates well, and I hope that everyone in New London gets the chance to get out and hear all the candidates for public office, where they stand, what their views are, what their backgrounds are, so you can make a good informed decision when you go to the polls. Also, I have to apologize to Casey at the Bean and Leaf. I always do my semi-morning Joe here. Shout out to Casey at the Bean and Leaf, who always takes care of me before the show. But I was working right up to the last minute tonight, making phone calls at DTC headquarters, and had to come straight to the studio. So we'll get you next time, but of course I always support Bean and Leaf and ask people to go check them out. Corner of Bank and Howard Street here in New London, organic fair trade coffee shop. Tonight, before I start taking calls, I wanted to lead off the program by talking about an issue for which I think there have been a lot of rumors swirling around, and I'd like to hopefully clear the air on some of them. And this relates to what the city is doing with the Lighthouse Inn. The Lighthouse Inn is a treasure for the City of New London. It is a rare piece of architecture, the former Guthrie Mansion, that really needs to be preserved while there is still time to do it. As has been reported in numerous media outlets, the inn is in very good condition. Even though it has been closed for several years, it doesn't look that way. It looks like it's been closed only a few months. There are no major structural problems with the building, and engineering reports on the building show it's fundamentally sound. Engineers that have examined the building for developers who are looking at developing the building in the past, before the city took ownership, estimated on the low end that the costs of replacing the windows with new efficient windows, bringing the HVAC system up, redoing the kitchen, etc., would cost anywhere between 1.8 on the low end and 2.5 on the high end $1 million. When I've discussed this with potential developers, they do not see that as an impediment. It's a low end price to fix up a property of this scale, with this much acreage in this part of town, with that kind of architecture and fixtures. It's really an amazing building. So we're working very diligently to get it up to snuff and to turn it over to a responsible developer as soon as possible. But there are stages in this process that have to be followed. Many people believe that the city took ownership of the Lighthouse Inn at the tax sale that was held this summer. That was not the case. When you take a property at tax sale, should the city bid on it or should anyone else bid on it, the original owner has up to 6 months to potentially come back, pay the back owed taxes, and retake and reclaim the rights to the property. When the city took ownership of the Lighthouse Inn, we moved immediately to try to shorten this period. We worked closely with the law department and were able to get that statutory 6-month period shortened to 60 days. And that was what just transpired recently when, a few weeks ago, the actual deed to the inn was finally recorded and the city actually took ownership of the property. So the city's only been in ownership for a couple of weeks, not a couple of months, as people initially believed. So over the summer, I got a lot of calls and emails of people saying, well, if you now own the building, why aren't you cutting the grass? Why aren't you doing some of the patchwork? And the reason was because we didn't actually have full title to the property yet. We now do. If you've been by the property, you'll notice that the vegetation, the grass, has been cut. This is very important work to do because some of that vegetation can grow into the building, grow into the foundation, and cause more serious problems that would then create more serious costs to fix the building up. We've already done that, and we'll continue to do that and keep it in check. We've also maintained security on the property. Security was being maintained by the prior owner. We continued it. This is to ensure that no one causes any further damage to the property. A lot of these buildings, if they become abandoned, people go in and strip the copper out of the building. That's one of the first things that they do, so we wanted to make sure that nothing like that happened, no more windows got broken, etc., etc. So that security's been maintained. Now there are a couple of small bits of patchwork that need to be done in two areas of the roof to prevent any creatures from getting in the building, like raccoons, birds, squirrels, etc., that can cause more damage, and or water damage. As of now, no significant damage has occurred anywhere in the building, but we're going to do those small patch jobs to make sure that the building is thoroughly secured from any other elemental problems. However, there are still more steps in the process before we can start to look at how we turn this property over to a developer. The first thing is that the personal property in the building, the chairs, the desks, some of the fixtures, are separate and distinct from the building itself. The building and the land was one tax issue that the city foreclosed on, took at tax sale, and now we own the building and the land. But the personal property was separate. We have to go to tax sale now in another 2 weeks to foreclose on that personal property and either sell it off or take title to it and combine it with the property, the structure and the land, so that it can go as a package. But that is still yet resolved. That will go to tax sale in, I believe, 2 weeks. The exact date will be publicized through our websites and through the regular media, and it will be duly noticed and posted, and anyone who wants to come and bid on that property can do so at that time. Once that is resolved, we're then working to clean up any other title issues, beach rights access, any dues that were due to the beach. There's also a water bill on the property that we're working with WPCA to try to resolve. So we want to clean up any of the remaining legal issues with the property and secure the property structurally. We would then clean the property, get a cleaning crew in to clean the rooms, straighten everything out so that we can then walk people through the building. The next stage in the process would be going to City Council. Once the building's secured, all the legal issues are settled, we would then need to develop a package to potentially offer to developers. This is where there's been some disagreement. Some councilors have expressed the view that they would like to go through an RFP process where we just say to developers, you give us the proposal. And we could get different kinds of proposals. Some people might offer more money, want less of an abatement. Some people might want more of an abatement, offer less money. The reason why I've not favored that, and this is, by the way, I'll also say, is an approach that was advocated by the New London Day. The reason I've not advocated that is that since the city embarked on this, I have heard nothing but rumors that there will be an inside deal, that someone connected to the city government or connected to me or some familiar New London face or developer would get some inside track and get the bid on the property. Well, I think if we do an RFP and we're comparing apples to oranges, so you're looking at one developer's proposal being very different from another, I think it's tougher to justify why did you pick this developer over that developer. Whereas if the package going to all the developers is the same, a standard abatement deal where, for example, the first 5 years of ownership, the developer would pay no taxes so that they'd be free of that burden while they fix up the building and open it for business and then get the business going, which is the hardest time. That's the time that the developer is putting out money but isn't bringing any money in. Then, once the building is past the 5-year mark, hopefully money is coming into the business, the building is open and functional, and then they would go to paying 50% taxes. Then at year 10, they would pay 100% taxes. But I would like to see if any time in the first 15 years they leave or close up or in any way scuttle the deal that they take when they take the property, that they would owe us those back taxes. Because I think one of the problems has been, and I think especially of the Pfizer example, of giving abatements for development, is that there needs to be some kind of penalty if people don't follow through once they take the tax advantage and take the property, particularly if it's at a low price. So I would like to see some kind of clause and reverter attached to that. But in any regard, there would also be other deed restrictions that would need to be worked into this package. What are you going to use the inn for? You can't just buy it and tear it down. You have to maintain its historical integrity. Do you plan to subdivide the lots? Do we want people to be able to subdivide the other property? And all of these issues need to be hashed out, and not by me, but by the City Council. But by the time we settle the personal property, by the time we do the initial patchwork and cleanup work, we're going to be past the election and it's going to be a new City Council. So more likely than not, these decisions will be made by the new City Council that the city is about to elect. And whatever combination of incentives and penalties and benefits that the council and the administration want to negotiate together, I would be amenable to. But I do believe that we should have one deal for whoever were to come in and one basic opening price, and then have an auction where people could come in and bid, and as long as they were the highest bidder and they accepted the same deal that was offered to everyone, we would then check out their financials, make sure that they were a sound developer, and research their history, and as long as they checked out and they were willing to accept the same deal that everybody else had and they were the highest bidder, they get the property. That way no one can claim that the process wasn't public, wasn't transparent, or that in any way anyone had a leg up over anybody else. The reason why you've seen a number thrown out of $500,000 as a potential opening bid is because the principal back taxes owed to the city on the Lighthouse Inn is approximately $350,000. All of the other costs, the cleaning, the repairs, the security, should in no way exceed $150,000. In fact, it should be much lower. So if we bid it out, put it out to auction at $500,000 starting, with the deal attached, whatever the deal is that we work out to incentivize the developer, we would at the very least recover all the principal back taxes owed, and we would recover anything we've paid during our ownership of the property while we prepared it for sale. If anyone bids higher than that, then obviously that's a profit to the city. We could add it to fund balance and start to build back up our city reserves that we desperately need to. So that's the approach I'm taking. But obviously the ultimate decision on this is going to be for the next City Council, and whatever decision they go with, and if it is an RFP process, well then that's what process we'll take. But I certainly advocate for this process because I think that it's more transparent. If that's the one we adopt, we would start with a walkthrough, and they would be publicized and open to the public. So any developer, any member of the public who wanted to come and do a walkthrough, they could do a walkthrough on certain assigned days. After that, any serious developer who wanted to make a bid at auction could contact us and come back and do targeted walkthroughs with their engineers, their attorneys, whoever else they would want to see the property, and we would schedule those and show the building accordingly. Then we would proceed to the actual auction itself, then review the background of the developer, hopefully ratify the deal, the development agreement, and then they would close on the property and begin work to refurbish it and hopefully reopen it, and hopefully soon. That's where the Lighthouse Inn is. The reason why I go through all this in such detail at the lead of this program is because every single day in my office I get at least 5 emails or phone calls of someone, either with the latest rumor they've heard about the Lighthouse Inn, or saying they need to see the inn tomorrow because they know we're going to sell it next week, or I've heard all sorts of crazy stuff. I want to turn it into a gay resort. I've got a friend in New York who's coming in to buy it. I mean, I don't know where any of this stuff comes from, but it's totally untrue. We are following this process unless the City Council opts for a different process, but we are going to make sure that this is done completely above board, that everyone has a fair shot, that everything about the process and the building is known to the public, and so that in the end, when this ultimately is settled and someone takes ownership, they'll be free and clear of any accusation that there was any special deal or dirty deal or backroom deal associated with this, and the entire public of the entire city will know exactly what transpired and why. So that's where we are with the Lighthouse Inn. I'm happy to answer questions about that, and after taking way too much time and hardly taking a breath, I will definitely take any calls if anyone has any calls coming in. and be happy to answer them. I know probably a lot of you are out watching the debate, so maybe some of you will see this on replay. I am taping the show, as we do every week, and I'll be giving the tape to Ian Thomas, who is starting an online magazine called Huck. I believe it launches on Friday, and we will try to link it also to YouTube so that if you miss a show or if you don't have MetroCast, you'll be able to watch online, and we'll go from there. So, all right. Other issues in the city that I'll discuss until a call comes in. The first would be the community center proposal. I've noticed that there's been a tremendous amount of controversy at this stage in the process about the community center. When I ran for mayor, I supported the community center. And I see there's a call, so I'll get it in 2 seconds. I'll just finish this thought. And I still support it. I've met with the people who are part of this collaborative. I think they've done a lot of really good work. And the proposal that just passed council was basically to continue studying it. No site selection has been finalized. No partner for the project has been finalized, although the YMCA is the lead partner proposed at this point. And I think they have good, solid proposals. But ultimately, what's going forward is the idea that we're going to continue to work on this. And I think we should continue to work on this. And in the end, with appropriate good public input, hopefully we'll be able to find a solution and a site that works and get a community center for the City of New London where everyone in the City of New London, all residents of the City of New London, are able to go there and enjoy it. I think that would be a good thing for our community. But I'll take the first call. Caller 1, you're on. Go ahead. Yes, caller 1?
Yes, hi.
Hello.
I'm calling just to let you and the New London listening audience know about a community prison awareness and prevention gathering.
At Shiloh?
Held on Saturday, October 26th at Shiloh Family Life Center, where our theme this year is Prevention of Crime, Mentoring Our Youth. And we encourage all youth and adults to come out and join us. We'll offer age-appropriate workshops, partner with community, other organizations that offer mentoring to youth, and it's free and open to the public. And again, the date will be Saturday, October 26th at Shiloh Family Life Center, beginning at 9 a.m. until 2 p.m.
Good.
We will have prizes for an essay art contest that we recently held, and the results of that contest will be announced. We'll have keynote speaker, light refreshments, and everything is free,
Great.
No charge, and everyone is welcome to attend.
That is great.
Yeah, and we would like to invite you to also attend, if you can, on Saturday, October 26th, to please join us.
It is already on the calendar.
Pardon me?
It's already on the schedule. I'll be there.
Okay, wonderful. And in regards to the community center, I just wanted to, again, support the efforts of that committee and to look into possibly the site of the old warehouse on Garfield Avenue as a possible location for a community center. I know it's been a vacant eyesore for a number of years, and it's located right behind the VFW on Garfield Avenue, and that might be something to throw into the mix.
I think that's a good idea.
And
the collaborative hasn't.
Show tonight, and that's it.
Great. Well, I can tell you the collaborative hasn't definitely selected a site. They were looking at Veterans Field. There's obviously some controversy there over the history of what that field was supposed to be or go back to, but the resolution that passed council didn't designate a specific site. So they're looking at all different sites, and obviously any suggestions that people have that I receive, I pass along to the collaborative, so I'll definitely pass that one along. I will say that the Shiloh gathering is one I've gone to for the last 2 years. I went when I was running. I went last year. I will say last year I wasn't able to stay because I had to run off because it was the beginning of the hurricane.
Right.
and it was
coming upon.
It was a tough day and a tough weekend, but this is a great program, and to really make young people aware of what prison is, what that life path is, how to avoid it is critical. Right. but also to help
We feel
people.
this year mentoring our youth is going to be our theme, and we
It's-
encourage
oh.
mentors in the area or those needing to have a mentor to please come out. There seems to be a shortage of services available in southeastern Connecticut, so we're looking to possibly start up new mentoring programs in the area. And if we all put our heads together, we can come up with some solutions for any community, whether it's New London or elsewhere. But we will be partnering. We have partnerships formed with agencies throughout the state of Connecticut. So come out and join us, and I'm glad to hear you're going to try to make it again this year.
Oh, I definitely will, because, you know, mentoring is something that I talk about a lot when I go out throughout the city. You know, people think if I'm a mentor, I've got to commit all this time. And really, what I have to say as someone who's been a mentor before, even 1 hour,
Yeah.
1 hour once a week for a couple weeks, or even just once with a young person in our city, can really make a profound impact on their lives and can really steer someone's life course in one way or the other. So programs like this are great, and I really encourage people to come out. I'll be there, and certainly to give of their time if they can. I do, my partner does at our church, to mentor young people in our community. It's really one of the best things that we can do to help them have a future. So I appreciate the call, and I've got another caller, so I'll move
Okay.
on. But thank you very much.
once again.
We'll see
All
you
right,
on the
bye-bye.
26th at Shiloh Baptist Church, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. I hope everyone will come out and make it. Okay? Caller 2, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hello, Mayor. Hi, Marty Crane. How are you?
Hey, Marty, how are you?
Very well, sir. So, Mayor, I don't mean to put, I'm trying to insert words in your mouth, but something you just said about the community center and all the citizens, that you hope it'll attract all the citizens. So I'm a Social Security recipient, which is obviously we are a very powerful voting bloc, perhaps the most powerful voting bloc of all. But as a parent of, they're 19 and 21 now, but recently they were young children who had no voting voice. Is it an accurate surmise of mine then to conclude, when you're saying that you believe it should be open to all, that you have just as much concern for not just us powerful voting bloc of us powerful, Social Security recipients, that you have just as much concern for those young folks who, because of their age, because of their youth, have no electoral voice at all? Is that accurate on my part?
No, it is, and I want to be certain that if we partner with anyone like the Y, that there aren't any financial burdens that prevent anyone in New London, regardless of economic means, from being able to go to this center. If we're going to have a New London Community Center, it has to be open to everyone. And what really encourages me are the statements made by the head of the YMCA, who came and testified before City Council, that they have programs that assure that, and that she believes that anyone in New London, any New London resident, would be able to use this facility, which would include also a senior center, a new and improved senior center for the City of New London, and I think that would be a great thing too. But I think we need to prove that, and that's why I'm supportive of moving this forward and continuing to study it, continuing to work on it, because if it can be proven that that's what will happen, that everyone has access, well, then we should do it. And if we find out along the way that no, that's not the case, well, then we'll need to address that, we'll need to rethink it. But as long as all New Londoners have access to this and we get a new facility, a good facility for our youth and for our seniors, I think this would be a very good thing for the city.
But, okay, may I continue? Just one
Yeah, go ahead,
quick
Marty.
question. All right, the seniors, yes. Now, all my adult life, I've been concerned about. I always thought that because of their powerful voting bloc, now I'm included. So security said, the elderly received a overly large share of what was, apportioned out there because of their voting. In other words, you understand, the children don't have that voting power. But you now do believe that the children, their rights to equal access to public. I'm sorry, you never write books on being so inarticulate.
No, I know.
Here,
I think I know what you're getting at, Marty. And I talked about it a lot when I ran for this office. I've talked about it since the day I took office, is that I very firmly believe that everyone matters equally. And I said it over and over and over. I've said it on this show before. I'll say it again tonight. My definition of a New Londoner is that you're a human being, you're here, and you want to stay. And I feel like everyone should be treated the same. And one of the things that has disturbed me, I'll be honest with you, are the phone calls I get. Because when I'm at work, or particularly if it's a crisis like during a storm, you know, someone will call and say, why are you helping those people? You know, why is that street being paved up there? You know, why do you care if those people get plowed out? They don't pay taxes. I pay the taxes, and I should get everything, and they shouldn't get, and this and that. And I just don't see things that way. I truly believe that all people in New London are basically good people, working hard. We're a working class city. In every neighborhood in the city, everyone is working. And some people own a home, some people rent. Some people live in public housing. Some people on our street are homeless and are down on their luck at this time in their lives. But I truly believe that the city government should still treat every single person in the city the same. And just because people vote or don't vote shouldn't matter. You know, I talk to people who say openly, I don't vote. And I say, well, you still live here, I still want to talk to you. You know, I talk to people who have very little money, and I talk to people with lots of money. But the person with lots of money shouldn't matter more than the person who's working a minimum wage job. And that's just how I approach it. And when I look at an issue like the community center, I want to make sure that this is going to be a community center that's not just open to people who can afford it, but is open to everybody. And the assurances we've been given is that this is going to do that. And if that's true and we can make it work, then we should do it, because it's something that kids in our city need. I mean, you know, you go to the Martin Center, it's in terrible shape. I mean, just embarrassingly terrible shape. And some of our schools, like our high school that needs to be refurbished and replaced in this magnet conversion plant, is in terrible shape. I really think our kids need deserve better than that. And whether they're poor, whether they vote, whatever their ethnicity, they deserve to be treated the same, to be treated like every other kid in our country. And that's just how I approach these issues. So that's where I'm coming from, Marty. I think you've read me right.
Sir, before I leave you then, let me just say two very quick things. Governor Jerry Brown of California, when he encounters people who say they don't vote, lets them know, well, if you don't get involved, other people will, and they won't represent your interests. And I guess it's fair to say then that you do consider yourself an advocate for the youth of New London, despite the fact that they have no electoral voice.
That is true, and I'll advocate for anyone, regardless of whether they have a voice or not, whether they choose to vote or not, but I hope to heck they vote. I mean, we're going to have an election on November 5th, and you could get elected to the city council with 1,500 votes in a city of 27,600 people. So, you know, if everybody in New London who cares about this city really paid attention to these elections and really came out and vote, you'd see priorities potentially change. You'd see a more vibrant community. We all benefit when we all participate, and I say that to everyone, regardless of political party or regardless of political viewpoint. You know, you need to get involved, you need to speak up, and you need to vote. The voter turnout in New London is very, very low, and we need to work hard to change that. So I've got other calls, Marty. I want to get to them too, because I know they've been waiting. So I'll thank you for the call, and I hope to see you soon. I haven't seen you in a while, so I'll see you for a coffee.
For a while. I was in the hospital a month. Take care, man. Thank you.
All right. Well, I hope you're feeling better, and I'll talk to you soon, Marty. All right. Caller 3, thank you for being patient. You're on the air.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm calling with a couple of questions. Number one,
Sure.
is the atrocity on Montauk Avenue. I mean, Montauk Avenue's been ripped up since the beginning of the summer.
Is this Ed?
Here it is almost winter, and it's still a mess. Can you give us some insight as to when it's going to be paved?
Yes, that paving schedule is actually on the city website. It's on the Public Works site. I believe that it should be done in the next few weeks. It's in its final stage. It looks a little bad right now, particularly down on the south end near Gardner, where I cut up from Mitchell College down. but it is coming along pretty well, and I think it will be done shortly, and once it's done, I think people will be very happy with the result. I mean, the new sidewalks just went in there, and they look great. The edging's got to be done now, and then the paving comes last. But I think it's on. I think it's on track. I mean, these things. Is it? By the way, is this Ed Halsey?
Could be.
I recognize your voice, Ed. I'll tell you, Ed. These things are always a mess. I mean, there's no like clean way to do it. I know this has been taking a long time, and I field a lot of calls on it. But it is supposed to be like within the final few weeks of wrapping up, and I know the exact dates of when the curbing goes in and the milling goes in and the road paving goes in for not just Montauk, but other projects around the city are all on the city website right now. I can't recall them all off the top of my head, but if you go on that site, you can see it. And also from the Public Works Director, I believe I put it on my Facebook page a couple days ago, so you can also check it out there too.
The second thing I wanted to talk about is, you know, we always say the youth of our community is our future, and we certainly neglect them. You know that I've been involved in youth sports in New London for many years, and the city is very lax in funding some of all the leagues, actually. The Little League, the Babe Ruth League, the Soccer League, the Basketball League. We just don't give enough back to the kids. You know, there's a good opportunity. The more we do for the kids, and I think the community center is a great idea, and we keep them off the street, we're educating them. We're educating them to be viable, productive citizens. And that's what we're trying to do with all sports. And the city, and you know, the history, my history with that is I used to have to go to council and beg to get a few dollars to send a team to a tournament in another part of the state. And then we're representing New London. And it was like pulling teeth. That shouldn't be. I mean, the kids are our future. They're our future leaders. I mean, we provide them with great schools. I mean, Nathan Hale School, Taj Mahal. I think it's beautiful. As the other new schools in New London are becoming. And I agree with you. The one High needs a remodel. But I'm sure that's going to come in the not too distant future. But we really have to draw on the kids. They're our future.
I agree with you, and those new buildings that we just built are magnet buildings, the elementary schools, and when we get the middle school and the high school up to that same standard, we're going to have a different world here in New London. I mean, imagine a New London where nobody worries, oh no, do I want to put my kids in the New London public schools? Where they feel that they grew up in New London or they moved to New London and then they have kids or their kids hit a certain age and they feel, I got to move to Waterford or I got to move to East Lyme. What happens the day that changes? I mean, can you imagine not only what that does to all our kids in terms of giving them a really good shot in life, giving them a good education, but also to our property values, to our ability to attract new businesses. I mean, this magnet school concept that's moving forward with the Board of Ed, I think really deserves our support. I think it's our best chance to really turn it around for kids in New London, fix these buildings up, and do it at a lower cost, really, to the city, because the state pays us more to go magnet than it does to just fix up a standalone building. So I think we're headed in the right direction, but it's a definite work in progress, and it's going to take some time to get there.
Well, everything takes time, but and I know that you've got a good start on it, but you know, there's a lot of kids that I see them at night on the streets, and they should be home, they should be studying, or they should be doing something constructive rather than walking the street.
And you know
up to what?
And you know what? I walk around with some of our candidates, and you know what kids say when you go up to a stoop or you see kids around the street, you say, oh, what's going on? They say, well, there's really no place for us to go. And they don't have any money, so they can't afford to do stuff that, you know, other people could do. So having a community center, having good schools, that's it. You know, that's the backbone for them. You know, 94% of our student population qualifies for student lunch. For a majority of our kids during the school year, that's the only meal they get on any given day. You know, these schools, these community centers, these things, this is all these kids are going to have. So we need to invest in that, or else we're going to lose a whole generation of children, and then what becomes of them? You know, we talk about public safety a lot in New London, as we should. Well, the best way to really ensure public safety is have a good education system. You know, if kids have opportunity, if they see a future, you know, they're less likely to join a gang. They're less likely to be out on the street causing problems if they have a community center to go to. I mean, we need to have these things, or else it affects everything else in our city. It affects our economy, it affects our revenues, it affects crime. So I think that it's morally important that we do it for the kids because it's the right thing to do, but it also just plain old makes sense. I really think it's the #1 thing we have to address in New London, and I'm thankful that I think for the first time in a long time, with the strategic operating plan, with the increase this year in the ed budget, I think we're finally starting to do that, and I think it's going to pay dividends in the end for us.
I think you're right.
All right, Ed, did you have another question, or I'll get the next caller?
Good. Thanks again.
All right, thanks, Ed. Have a good night. All right, caller 1, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi. I just want to know... Hello?
Hello, yep, you're on the air.
I just wanted to know, you're talking about the community center and the YMCA.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was me.
What?
And is the recreation department, what happens to them?
Well, I think that's the question that we ask depending upon how the community center shakes out. If it shakes out that the YMCA can cover everything and we can locate some of our Parks and Rec and senior services there, we'd potentially combine them. If it doesn't work out that way and we want to maintain our separate Parks and Recs department alongside a community center, and we have the means to do that because the community center is self-funding, then maybe we do that. I don't think we've gotten to that point yet because I think we need to see what the exact proposal for the community center is going to be before we're able to really make that decision.
Okay, because the recreation department does do a lot for the children.
They do, and actually we're going to be honoring them tomorrow. I'll break the news tonight that they just got a significant accreditation for our Parks and Rec program. And Rec Director Tommy Major was a critical player in that. Myself and the rest of the administration, you know, participated in all those interviews and proposals and master plan formulation and got this accreditation. And it's really a significant achievement for our Parks and Rec department. And the director and all the employees of the department, all the members of the Park and Rec Commission really should be proud of that. It's a real achievement for the city of New London.
Okay, well, thank you. You answered my question.
Great. All right, you have a good night. Next call. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just jumping on Eddie's bandwagon. You're doing a nice job, but I have a couple pet peeves.
Okay.
One of them is you did a great job at Bates's Woods, but the entrance there, the beautiful wall, it looks like crap. It should be cleaned up, and it would take 1 hour's work up there.
All right.
It's a beautiful wall on the entrance. Please clean it up.
Now, the cleanup, let me ask, because I haven't been up
You
there.
got weeds on the top of it,
Weeds?
stuff like that. There's a tree there. It just you can just drive by. I drive by it every day.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful entrance. The park looks good, but clean the entrance up. It's another pet peeve would be the entrance with a walk-in at Ocean Beach. It's horrible. I go by there all the time. It doesn't take much to do this, Mayor. Ocean Beach, I grew up in the 60s. It was beautiful. Take over the beach, Mayor. Bring it back. There's money to be made there. Bring some rock groups, the Beach Boys, like they do in Harkness out there. Bring them down to the beach.
I'd love it.
Take it over. Tar it. Get a new fence up. It's a money maker. It's a money maker. Make it and tell them to stop charging after 5 o'clock. So during the week, people go down there. New Londoners, Waterford people, go down there, get a grinder, get a hot dog. They charge till like 7 or 8 o'clock in the summer, and nobody wants to go in there and just pay for an hour. It's a gold mine down there if it's done right. The other thing, Jennings School, they shouldn't have put grass in there. If you go by there, they should have just tarred the whole place. It looks awful. I went to New London High School now. It was Benny Dover. Back then, the grounds were nice. The grounds, I don't know when was the last time fertilizer was ever put on there, but the grounds need to be taken. And it doesn't take much, Mayor.
Okay.
Bring back New London. Morgan Park, bring it back as a park. You're right, don't put anything in there. Bring it back. Don't give up your parks. Believe the kids need, like you just said, need something to play.
Yep.
Bring
No.
back your parks. I think a great asset is
Yeah.
Bates's Woods for the community center. I know I'm long breath, I'm going on.
No, go ahead.
There's a pond for skating in the winter down there. There's plenty of land. You got ball fields there. I think that's a prime location for something like a community center to get down there. There's a lot of land. The road is already made. It goes all the way through to Coleman Street down there. I mean, it's just a couple. You're doing a good job, but it's just a couple pet peeves that I see. You know.
No, and I'll be honest with you. I have a couple of my own. I won't say what they are, but there are things that I drive around the city and I say, I wish I could fix that. You know, I will tell you one. I'll tell you one.
Manicured. You're a clean-looking guy.
I'll tell you one that drives me out of my mind. When you drive into New London and you come in off the highway, off the bridge, and you're coming into downtown, the pedestrian footbridge that goes from the Federal Street housing projects to the basketball courts across Eugene O'Neill, that's all rusted out, it's got boards in it and whatever. We hang banners from it advertising like Brewfest at the beach, it's Sailfest next weekend, you know, whatever it may be. Absolutely. That is our main entrance gateway into the city. And I would love to have the resources to fix that up, put like the city seal on it or a flag and say, welcome to New London, you know, as you're coming in, maybe even a digital board that says these are the events going on in town, landscape that better, because that's the first thing people see as they approach our downtown. If you're on I-95 and you've never been to New London before, you know, all of us that live here see this through the eyes of people who live here. But if you're looking to bring people into your city, you got to look at your city the way a tourist will see it, the way a traveler will see it. And that approach looks awful. But then once you get beyond it, we've put art on the police station. We've put murals on the mural walk. We're looking at redoing the municipal parking lots. You know, we're fixing up that approach, but you should really start at the beginning where that footbridge is. And there are others. I mean, I can go off down the list. The reality is, though, all of this work, including even some of the simple cleanup work, takes manpower and it takes money. And one of the things that I took a lot of heat on last spring is that people really wanted the dog pound up in Bates Woods, the animal control center, fixed because it was due for it anyway, and then a tree fell on it during Hurricane Sandy and all the rest. And we've been sending our dogs to other regional towns. Right now we're sending them to Waterford, and when they're sent to other towns, they're not treated as well as we could treat them ourselves. They're euthanized faster. And nobody likes it. But I had so little, such a small crew and so little money that over the summer I had to dedicate those people solely to the schools, just to get the schools barely up and operational. And there's plenty of things in the school buildings that still need to be fixed, that still need to be done, that we're not doing. But we had to do basic essential stuff just to be able to open for the school year. Then I had to move those people up to working on the animal control center, which they're now doing, and we expect to have it clean, done, and open by Thanksgiving. So we're getting to these things, but if you don't have a lot of people, you know, we can't get to everything we'd like. But I certainly take note of where there are issues. I always bring them to DPW, and especially if it's just like you're talking about at Bates Woods, like clean the weeds, clean stuff, that's usually something that they can, all right, find someone and fix it. But we have these issues all throughout the city, and if we don't have a lot of people, we just got to get to the most important thing first and work our way down the list. But I got some of my own pet peeves, trust me, and believe me, if given enough time, we'll get to all of them.
All right, Mayor. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for the call.
The other thing, to make New London go downtown, one last thing, Mayor.
Sure.
If you're going to make New London go, and I hope it does, because I'm a New London guy, you got to have lighting. It's got to be lit like it's 12 noon at 12 night.
Christmas.
You got to put lighting down there and police presence, and New London will come back. That's all you need.
The three biggest things that you can do, and I'll give you a fourth, but there's three biggies for public safety in an urban environment. Lighting, surveillance cameras with signage, so that when you walk down the street at eye level on the poles, it says you're on closed circuit television. So people know the cameras are there, the cameras are visible, it's well lit, and there's walking beat patrols of officers. So we need to install those cameras, we need to install that lighting, and there's ways to do that in partnership with the business community, because you can tell businesses and private property owners to install lighting, to install their own cameras, and they can integrate those cameras into our system. So this doesn't necessarily all have to be paid for by government. It can also be a public-private partnership between government and the business community and the private building owners and even the nonprofits, particularly in downtown New London. That works. We also need beat patrols. We do have beat patrols. We use them frequently. Police are always walking around downtown. We need more. We need more boots on the ground in New London, there's no doubt. Our police force is down at least 10, if not 15 officers to be at a level where I would be comfortable. We're down 28 officers, I believe, overall. That was the, yes, 28 overall in the last 2 years. Some of those officers, while we would like to have, say, 96 police officers, we're down to 68. I would like to have 96 if I could have them. When I originally ran, I wanted it to go up to 102, but certainly we want to be up in the 80s. We don't want to be down in the 60s. So this has been an issue in terms of controlling the budget, balancing the budget, and facing the reality that people have rejected tax increases because people can't pay, and that's understandable. But at some point in this next budget cycle and the one after, we're going to have to find ways to rebuild our patrol strength. Now, part of that is looking for alternative revenue sources, so looking for more grants, lobbying for more state aid. Part of it is consolidating services, so consolidating city and school finance departments, consolidating regional dispatch, potentially consolidating regional animal control, so that we can lower our costs by working with other cities and towns to provide these same services that we all use, because none of us can afford to maintain all these separate programs. But even if we do all of that, it may not be enough to pay for all the repairs that we need to do and to put all the cops on the street we want. So that's a debate we're going to have. How much do we want to pay? How many cops do we want to have? But certainly, I think we need to start rebuilding those ranks as quickly as possible, because those are the big three: lighting, cameras with signage, and walking beats. And the other one, the little fourth one I'll give you, which everyone laughs at, but I swear to God it's true, is in bus stops or in train stops, they pipe in other major cities, light classical music, usually Mozart. They pipe in light Mozart. And I tell you what, there's a proven correlation between that and crime reduction. Because while people are waiting, it puts people in a calmer mood. So lights, cameras, cops, and maybe a little music, and believe me, we can make downtown New London even safer than it is now. But what I will tell everyone who's listening is that our crime numbers in New London have been declining, and major crimes in downtown have been almost non-existent for 2 years. So we have a very good record in the last few years of reducing crime in our city, and if you look at the per capita crime numbers in New London compared to Hartford, Bridgeport, New Haven, Providence, Rhode Island, New London is one of the safest cities that you'll ever find. So anyone who's out there listening to this program should know you're safe to come to downtown New London, but I agree with the caller that we still want to do more. We want to make sure that every single person that comes to downtown New London absolutely knows that they're safe, that it's bright, that it's lit, especially with the National Coast Guard Museum coming, with this being a major transportation hub. These are things we have to do, and we're working on them now, especially the lighting and the cameras, and hopefully we'll have significant progress on them within the next 6 months. So, all right, so there's no other callers. So that is where we're at, and I got the 5-minute warning. So at the end of the program, either when I run out of calls or when I get the warning that we're about to run out of time, I'll talk about other political issues, usually national political issues. The one I want to talk about tonight is the controversy ongoing in Washington, D.C. I'll give you my 2 cents on it. I think the federal government has completely and utterly lost its mind. I've thought this for a while now. You can't spend $1 if you don't have $1. We have to work towards a serious balanced budget, and that's going to involve concessions from both sides. It's going to mean cutting spending, even social spending, even though some of those cuts are things I may not like. It's going to involve cutting the military, even though no one really wants to do that, but it needs to be done. It's too big a portion of the budget, and even people like Rand Paul recognize that. And it's going to need tax increases too. I hope that they're progressive tax increases on the wealthiest Americans who've been getting tax breaks for years, but we need to do all of the above and bring our budget into balance. But what is happening right now is something that I've never seen in 20 years of being active in politics. A minority in one party, in one chamber of the national legislature, is threatening to default on the United States government's credit. That would be an economic catastrophe for the country. All of our money is not backed up by gold. It's not backed up by anything. It's a piece of paper. The only thing that backs up a dollar bill is the idea that it's based on the full faith and credit of the United States government. It's the credit that we've established in more than 200 years since John Adams secured the first loan for the United States from the Netherlands that we pay our bills. We always pay our bills. So even if we're in debt, even if we have a bloated budget, our money survives, our economy survives because everyone in the world knows America always pays its bills. To use the debt ceiling as a political weapon to force concessions is inappropriate. But concessions need to come, but here's where they don't need to come. They don't need to come in the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act passed both chambers of Congress, was signed by the President, and was upheld by the United States Supreme Court, and it already went into effect. It is not a spending program, it is an insurance mandate, backed up by subsidies generated from tax penalties, from people who don't collect, and from cuts in other medical programs like Medicare, Medicaid, waste, fraud, and abuse that's being saved there. This is a self-sustaining program. For members of Congress to try to derail the federal government, shut down the government, deny death benefits to veterans' families, deny Social Security checks to people living on the edge cutting pills in half, to shut down our national parks, to shut down FEMA services, National Weather Services, to endanger people's lives by doing that is irresponsible. To actually default on the national credit is unthinkable, and to do it so that they can go back and re-argue a law that's already been passed, that the President was re-elected on, and that the U.S. Supreme Court upheld and that the Senate doesn't support revisiting is insane. I think this needs to stop. I think that the Republican House members and the Tea Party members, if they don't relent, are going to drag the Republican Party into minority party status for 20 years if we go off this fiscal cliff. So hopefully they will come to their senses and hopefully they will reverse course. But until they do, we wait and watch. But I wanted everyone in New London to know that my opinion is they have gone truly off the deep end, and hopefully sanity will reign soon enough and better and cooler heads will prevail. That's it for the show tonight. Tune in next week. Thank you for watching. And again, you can check us out online. And everyone's also free to check us out on Facebook, Office of Mayor Finizio, or to call my office at City Hall. Thank you. Have a good night.